Five Nights at Freddy's is a Blumhouse mystery horror based on the popular video game series of the same name, created by Scott Cawthon, who also had a major hand in making this film. The story centers around Mike Schmidt, a troubled big brother trying to keep it together as he bounces from job to job and fights with his aunt over custody of his little sister. Fearing that his current state of unemployment will cast a negative light on him in any upcoming court proceedings, Mike reluctantly accepts a job as night watchman of a long-defunct family entertainment restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. In its heyday, the main attraction at Freddy's was its animatronic ensemble, much like the ones you'd see at Showbiz Pizza or Chuck E. Cheese's, though now the only patrons at the long-abandoned pizzeria is the revolving door of security guards. Going into this, I knew nothing of the video game series the movie was based off of, but I noticed that the creator of the game was heavily involved in the film's making, and that's usually a good sign, though not always. In this case, since Five Nights at Freddy's was virgin territory for me, I wasn't going to get bent out of shape because some part of the game's lore was changed. Sometimes you see that when the original creator is involved. They did one thing in the game, but they want to try something new, path not taken so to speak, with the film, and the portion of your audience that were devout fans of the game series don't always take that so well. I have no comment on that one way or the other. To me, the movie was going to have to stand on its own two animatronic legs. It wasn't going to get any preconceived notions from me, but it also wasn't going to get any passes due to my fanboyness wanting to subconsciously overlook issues in order to see my favorite aspects of a beloved game come to life. The mystery aspect of the story was interesting enough to keep me watching, though it did feel a bit watered down and cliche. Not that that's a bad thing. Not every movie needs to venture into new territory in order to be interesting, but it also needs to watch out or else it becomes too formulaic, which I felt was the case here. The film wasn't really as special effects heavy as one might think a movie based on creepy animatronics coming to life might be, but it still worked. I didn't feel like anything was really lacking in that department. In a way, it was kind of refreshing. A lot of times I feel like films, especially the ones with big budgets, rely too heavily on the effects, and that may make a movie pretty, but pretty doesn't equal good. There also wasn't a lot of gore, but again, I didn't feel that detracted from anything. As with an abundance of special effects, too much gore can really take me out of the film. Firstly, a lot of times it just looks too cartoony to be real, and some filmmakers think that there's a direct correlation between gory and scary, and that's rarely the case. Something I did find a little abrasive was how unlikable Mike, the main character, was. I understand he's supposed to be dysfunctional due to some past trauma that's consuming him, almost bordering on neglect when it comes to his sister, but that seems to be his one note. It was hard to spot any redeeming quality through that thick armor plating of apathy and single-mindedness, but I never really felt like I could connect enough with the character to care about his journey or his troubles. Early in the film, Mike sees what he thinks is a kidnapping and goes ballistic on the guy, to the point where you'd think that that kind of raw anger over something like this is going to come into play later in the film, possibly getting channeled into some last hurrah to fight back when everything seems its bleakest, but it never really does, and that was a little disappointing. And the turmoil he wrestles with all movie does technically get resolved, but it just kind of feels like it's handled in passing, almost like he just shrugs at one point and gives up on it rather than addressing it directly. As far as Freddy and his animatronic pals, the film gives a roundabout reasoning behind how they've come to life, but I felt like the reason was pretty flimsy and ended up raising a lot more questions than it answered. There's some mythical or magical thing going on here, and while it may make complete sense to established fans of the game series, it was lost on me. All in all, I think if you're a fan of the video game franchise, then you're likely to enjoy this film, and if you're not, then watching it won't be a complete waste of an evening, but it's probably not going to be the highlight of it either. And I think this bears out when looking at popular rating sites. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critics score is pretty low at 26%, but the audience rating is a whopping 89%. Metacritic shows very similar numbers, with the critics rating being 33 and the audience score being 8.2 out of 10, or 82%. IMDb comes in at 5.7 out of 10, or 57%, and Letterboxd gave it 2.7 out of 5 stars, which works out to be about 54%. So on par with IMDb, and I think those are about where I'd rate Five Nights at Freddy's. Very near the middle. Not great, but not bad either. This further cemented my thinking that fans of the franchise will get a great deal of enjoyment out of this film, and newcomers to this world will likely find the film just above okay, but that in and of itself is okay. I don't have a problem with an IP-based film focusing on what its existing fan base is going to want. You have to play to your audience, the people that got the game series to the point where you could make a feature-length film. The filmmakers knew their target audience and, so it would seem, knew them well. But that's my take on Five Nights at Freddy's. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Before you go, it would be great if you would give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you get notified about future videos. If you're interested in fun facts about movies, then check out the playlist on your right, and the video on the left is something our robot overlords at YouTube might think you'd like. Until next time, have a good one.